I see. And then, so we're talking about the measurement piece. What can you tell me about actually the production piece? Or we measure how good it is, but how do you make it that good? So, for instance, you're talking about the creaminess or things like this.
Yeah. So this is mainly for semi-solid materials. So, for example, meat analogs is something that is also a big topic now. When you think about a steak, most people think juicy
Yeah.
or the juicy Lucy burger.
Yeah.
So, because when you bite it, it's really rich and it lubricates your mouth, but you still have um, anisotropic structure. So, the muscles are arranged in bundles. So, and then you have the intramuscular fat that is inside these fibers. So, what we can do now, and pretty good, is to have these anisotropic structures formed from plant proteins. So, we can create fibers that are elongated out of plant proteins. And for this, there are many ways to produce them, but the most common way is using extrusion. So you have a protein powder and you mix it with water in an extruder. You heat it up at certain temperature, so that you force protein interactions, and then you cool it down in a cooling die to create certain flow pattern inside of the die that will then give you the direction of the fibers. And this we can do really, really good. With There are many products, at least in Europe, in the market and the shelves, that can really mimic this anisotropic structure. I think where people are still struggling is the fat in the muscles, that we cannot mimic that well because of certain limitations. So it's really difficult to have this marmor structure of a Kobe beef. You cannot do with extrusion because it's the layering up of the fat and muscle that we still need to improve for plant-based alternatives.
Right. And I know we're getting into trends, and I guess we can touch on this now. Um, let's get into trends. So you talked about, let's say, a Kobe beef. I've never had a piece. I've seen tons of it on television. Perhaps one day I'll get to having a nice marbled piece cut of Kobe beef. But do you feel, and you're a vegetarian yourself, right? So however, your family and those closest to you, some of them are flexitarians or
No,
it's
they're all very meat eaters.
very okay. So you have a lot of meat eaters around you. So um, do people even want a plant-based piece of food that um, mimics a Kobe beef? Like I
I
know they
think,
did before because they had the Impossible
yeah,
Burger and the Beyond Burger, but I'm wondering, is this still a trend going in that direction?
this is a very interesting question. I think yes and no. So, what I've seen the last few years is that plant-based is still a top trend, but the shift is more towards innovative ways to have plant-based, not really to mimic the actual beef or Kobe beef, because the plant-based alternative, I think they are not really designed for vegetarians or vegans. They are mostly thought for flexitarians. So people that actually like eating meat, but for whichever reason, it could be environmental concerns, animal welfare, health issues, need to reduce their meat consumption and still want to have the experience about eating meat. That's why you mentioned the Impossible Burger and the Beyond Burger. So these burgers they want to give you the experience of cooking a real burger. So the Impossible Burger changes color when you cook it. So because when you cook also a burger, you at the beginning it's red, and then when it starts to cook, because of many chemical reactions that are occurring, changes color toward a brownish tone. So, and this is that what makes the Impossible Burger so impossible
Yeah.
is to have this experience with plant-based things. But a vegetarian wouldn't be really looking forward to having this cooking of raw meat with a vegetable.
So I guess, for instance, in your life where you like vegetables for the vegetables or the fruits or whatever the plant-based thing is, when you're having a meal with your significant others, and if they wish to have a plant-based meal, do you find that they go for things that mimic meat? So, for instance, and it doesn't even have to necessarily go through a scientific process. Maybe something like some mushrooms have a meaty kind of quality to it. Do they enjoy things like that?
I think yes, but I think it's also a cultural thing. So I was traveling to Asia, as you know, for the last few weeks, and then I looked into the supermarket, and I didn't find any plant-based alternative. I asked my colleagues there, why is this the case? And I said, because we don't need it. We have alternatives that are vegetarian and vegan in our own cuisine. So they have tofu, they have tempeh. So they don't need to replace these things. They already exist. So if you think about US Americans, Europeans, and South Americans, the cuisine of these cultures is very meat-centric. So to have something that is culturally like a ritual to eat in a family together, it's really difficult to leave the meat out. So you need to replace it to also have vegetarians and vegans by your side. So I think there is the necessity to the family bond and include everyone in this ritual of having a meal together. Yes, but it's culturally dependent.